All right. Yeah, thanks everyone. I'm excited to be here. This is my first BlinkOn, so let me get started. First, I'll talk a little bit about who I am. Probably to a lot of folks who aren't at Google, I'm somewhat new to you. My background is actually in video coding. I worked on a lot of codecs like BP8 and BP9 and AV1, and for a lot of codecs that came before that. About 4 years ago, I was asked to get more directly involved with Chrome, and I was asked to help lead the graphics org. So I was on a path to trying to understand the web more directly. Apparently, I did well at this, or well enough that my boss asked me to start leading more. And today, I lead, I think, around 630 folks who work in Chrome, either on the web platform or on trust and safety. So today I was asked to talk about my views for the future of the web, and this is my attempt to do so. Before I move on, this is a picture of Cohoes Falls. I came from upstate New York in the Albany area. I happen to like waterfalls. There's no other significance to this slide. Now, I'm sorry. Are we laughing about the dates? Yeah, it died in 2010, I think, on a Wired magazine. I think that was the death of the web. There's been a lot written about the demise of the web, whether it's from competition with mobile apps or through maybe it's Web3 is going to wipe out the web and replace it with something that's more distributed. Comments in the graphs I've seen often show like a slow decline in comparison to apps. Personally, I even had I had family who talk about, oh, you're working on that thing that used to matter 15 years ago, and it's come up a lot. I think all of those things miss something, and that's basically that I think a lot, like 85% of all apps and even the Google Play Store use some level of web tech, and the web's available in a whole lot of other apps directly, like Facebook and QQ, and I don't think we should be afraid of that. I think it's sort of a natural evolution of the web. It's everywhere. It's in all the apps that we're using. So I don't actually see a withering web. What I actually see is an enormous opportunity. The web is more compelling today than it's ever been. The kind of things that are possible on the web have greatly expanded. I can't imagine 10 years ago, I don't think any of us would have dreamed of bringing Photoshop on top of the web, but that's possible today. It runs, it's awesome, it works well. So new APIs landing on the web have greatly expanded what's even possible on the web. And the work we can do can help shepherd in a new resurgence that revitalizes the web for a better world. Of course, the core promise of the web remains as compelling today as it's ever been. It's where at least I go for information, communication, entertainment, and commerce. It's ubiquitous. I think there's 5 billion users using the web today. Maybe it's more. It's powerful. We have things that are enterprise apps, and I think it looks like we're using Meet. It's an enterprise app that's used. We talked about image editing apps like Photoshop. So it covers a lot. There's an opportunity, though, for us to excel and provide even better experiences to our users than they can get elsewhere. There's plenty of places where native apps bring web-like experiences to your computing device. These apps can be beautiful, powerful, performant, easy to find, monetize, and easy to develop. I think we can do better with the web. There's some major advantages the web has over native apps. There's no need to download a binary that maybe has a virus or malware. The same runtime that you produce can work on multiple devices. We have a user agent that can keep you safe and private. We have powerful, distributed, collaborative collaboration almost by default. If you're doing it on the web, there's no reason that you can't make it so that two people can be in the app at the same time. And we have deep links. You can link directly in to an app, not to the opening of an app that asks you to install, but directly to where you're actually in to see the exact slide that you should work on, or the exact part of the image that you can work on. And I think with all of your help, we can make the web as powerful, beautiful, and performant as the best that's available on any native platform. So I wanted to start with beautiful. We're already working to enable a far more beautiful and far more accessible web. We've worked on powerful design paradigms that lead the industry and excite UI developers who will make the web more delightful. The work we've started to do with CSS, and we've already landed a bunch, has gone a long way. I'm really excited about features like that are upcoming, like toggle. If you know about the CSS toggle features, it's an amazing, lets you have a whole kind of state machine that you built doing all in CSS. Styled form controls. So finally, that ugly combo box from 15 years ago, you can style. You can do amazing things with it. We have carousels, accordions coming, tab controls. We're working hard on wide color gamut, scroll linked animations, and view transitions, which are super cool. You can have an image on one screen grow, the next page you go to, you saw yesterday maybe, next page you go to, it's a much larger size as you've clicked and brought it in. There's a smooth transition to it. So there's just so much more that we're doing with CSS to enable a more beautiful web. We're also working to make a more powerful web. I'm super excited by the kind of things that we've done to bring all that's available on the OS to the browser or to the web. I'm excited by hardware codecs, USB, HID, Bluetooth, serial. There's just a ton of work that we've done that brought something that you couldn't do on the web 5 years ago or 10 years ago to the web today. And for the first time, we're bringing GPU compute through Web GPU to the web. I don't know about the rest of you, but for years I watched my daughter play with Snapchat filters and Instagram filters. Those things are built on top of OpenCL and stuff that we actually couldn't directly do on the web. We'll be able to do that now through compute shaders. WebAssembly is another super exciting thing that we've continued to build. WebAssembly, very recently we brought to the web the ability to do SIMD instructions through WebAssembly so that we're able to compete more. I think in the future we should do more of that. We should have more instruction. We should match instructions of the native processor a little bit closer. And we have proposals like relaxed SIMD that do that, but giving us a little bit more direct comparison to what you could do on native through these things. And of course, with WebAssembly, we're adding garbage collected languages. So you got to be able to bring whatever language you would like to the web. Imagine Java or Kotlin or Dart or Swift now running on top of the web, and that's coming. I think there's lots of paradigm issues that we need to fix. I don't know if you use shared buffer arrays and you've had to serialize when you go to a separate thread. It's something we're going to resolve. We're going to have structured data to pass things around through threads. So I think all of these things, I'm also hoping that we'll have better threading paradigms. I'm not sure that a new worker thread every time I need to do a little mini task or I'm not sure that's the best paradigm. I think that's something that we're working on as well. So with other features, with other parts of the web, we have a drawing API called Canvas. We're doing really exciting things with Canvas. You've seen a bunch of things land recently, but imagine being able to store a set of drawing commands so that you don't have to go through JavaScript every single time. So you could, I don't know, if you were writing a little sprite game, that you can just replay the drawing, the draw commands without having to go back and forth through JavaScript. So that's coming. We're adding super low latency audio, which is another thing that kind of we have professional apps that are doing mixing of audio. Now we'll be able to do it at a much more professional level. So there won't be a reason not to do that. I'm really excited about contributions that will come from outside of Google, hoping for great work from edit context and text shaping, which will allow us to do more powerful editing things. On top of, if you're Photoshop or something, you want somebody to have, you want text shaping. You don't want to have to include all of, I don't know, HarfBuzz and ICU and things to do that kind of work. Also, powerful stuff. I know Intel has been working on things like WebNN, and I'm hoping we can land on powerful primitives that we all agree on that will work for enabling ML, specifically hardware on the web. So I also think we need a faster web. I don't think you should have to wait for a page to come up. Loads should be instant. We're working on things like that together through prefetch and pre-render. I think the UI should also feel instant. There's a new metric that we're tracking called INP. That's you do something, you click on something, you do a mouse click or a key. How long does it take before something happens on the screen? So we're working hard on that. Personally, a scroll should feel like it's tied to your finger. Outside, anything that you do with finger scrolling or anything along those lines, it should be instant and not pull away from the kind of physical feel of scrolling. We need better ways to cache your apps and your data. It shouldn't be, you shouldn't have to wait for, I don't know, a giant program like Photoshop to download everything before you can do anything. And I personally, when it comes to C or C++ programs, I think we have an opportunity to actually do better than what you can do with the web. Because I don't, if you're all familiar with C and C++ programming, you compile and you do profile guided optimization based off of, you've run statistics out on the web. We can do that per person. So when I say it could run faster, I mean, we could actually do personal profile guided optimization on the web, and maybe we can provide something that's actually faster than what you can do. We can also do things like you would optimize for size when you're shipping it and optimize for speed when you're using it. So there's a lot of things that we can do just because we're shipping compilers and things with it. I'll also say we need to be, it's got to be easier and safer to use the web. You have to trust it. No one should worry about getting hacked through their browser. Projects like Miracle Pointer, which maybe all of you have heard or you'll see later today, and all the fuzzing that we do are really critical to our success. And we have other programs like the Vulnerability Reports program, where we're paying people to find these vulnerabilities. It's critical to our success on the web for the web to be a safe place for folks. Chrome's also pushed safe browsing. I think it's anyone can use safe browsing. I don't know if other browsers do. I'm sort of new to that space. But we obviously need everyone's assistance to keep the web safe and make it even safer. I think we also need a web that's a little better at commerce. I don't know how many times I've gone to purchase a present, a gift for somebody, and had everything work, but the combo box for state, gets in the way. I don't want to deal. I want autofill and payments to not have to go through that kind of. I don't want to ever get in the way of it. I want to be able to click something, say I want to buy it, put my thumb on a scanner or something, and just have the purchase made. I think we'll get there. I think right now the web is a bit too hard to develop for. There's too many paradigms. There's a lot, between you and the browser that gets sort of in the way. We also have issues with cross browsers. You go to Safari and it works differently, so you have to write special code to, it's like a switch statement. If I'm on this browser, do this. If I'm on another, do something else. So we've worked really hard to on projects that are interoperable. That's an interop program. I think we're working on it for next year as well. I also think another thing that will help developers are CSS primitives that don't require you to write a lot of TypeScript to create tabs or do other things. We also need better debugging. It's great that we're going to have language support for potentially Java and Kotlin. We also need to have a good experience for developers who want to figure out why there's a bug here in this piece of code that's written in a language and then converted through Emscriptum to something. It's probably not Emscriptum for Java, but we need better tools for testing and automation. A big problem for developers today is they go and they have to write a script for each browser because something's different on each one. So they'll write. We're working on something called Web BiDi that will let us hopefully have good interaction, two-way interaction with each browser, and the same script will work everywhere, and the same kind of testing mechanisms. And ideally, we're working with developers wherever they are. If there's a set of WordPress developers, hopefully our debugging tools will work for them, debugging and testing tools. That's true. If most C programmers or C++ programmers are probably doing their testing using VS Code. So we need to integrate well with tools like that. When it comes to privacy, I don't think users should ever be surprised or frightened by how their data is used. We're working hard to provide more transparency and control and better defaults for folks. Of course, there's a bit of challenge with that, and that's in trying to provide users control over their own data through efforts like deprecating third-party cookies. You can see cookies crumbling. That's my pun. In deprecating third-party cookies, we might risk the very ads ecosystem that monetizes the web today. The solution we've chosen is to eliminate third-party cookies, but provide the kinds of APIs that maintainers can continue to use to monetize the web. The Privacy Sandbox folks are really hard at work providing these APIs. Hopefully, this will lead to third-party deprecation that works. Eliminating cookies without this kind of work runs the risk of ruining the ecosystem that powers the web. Or worse, maybe it provides incentives for advertisers to do covert fingerprinting that secretly collects more data about each user without even the possibility of deleting all cookies to remove the data that you have or the browser has on you. So to recap, we hopefully I see a web in the future that's more beautiful, more powerful, faster, safer, more commerce friendly, easier to develop for, and more private. Basically a better web. Clearly there's a lot to do. I know a lot of you are working together with us to join and produce a better web. And I know we all have our parts to play. But I think the end result of what we do will be better for all of us, and it will be a web that lives up to its promise and provides the best experiences for users around the world. And that's it. I was hoping just to take any questions that you all have. Or not.
So there are a couple of what I think are competitive advantages to the web that I don't see mentioned that frequently, and I wonder what your thoughts are on them. And one is composability. I think that iframes and related technology is there's no equivalent in native apps. And then another is ubiquity, which is almost any computing device of any form factor that you ship today will probably ship with something that can render web content pre-installed. I think the saturation of, the ability to render web content approaches 100%. And I don't think that there's any other comparable technology that does that. I'm just wonder how you think those kind of advantages fit.
Maybe I thought I covered ubiquity, but maybe not. And it's a little too late to go back and edit my slide. I completely agree with you on composability. The ability to just pull pieces, this part I'll get from a different, I'll get this from this site or this from this other. It's an amazing advantage of the web, and I should say it, but probably a bit too late to add to the slide right now. But I agree with you on both counts.
Recent work on the web has enabled developers to create experiences with kind of using less of a traditional document model. So thinking like WebGPU, WASM, even some frameworks might be thinking about building their experiences using these technologies, but that in turn reduces some of the indexability and accessibility of the web.
Yep.
So kind of what's your thinking about the tension there, and how can we maybe bring some of these lower level technologies to still keep some of those properties that the web has?
Yeah, and very specifically, I think when you write something that's all on top of Canvas or Web GPU and you build your entire app in that sort of framework, you lose things like find in page, and you lose maybe some accessibility. There have been attempts in the past through accessibility object model to provide another pass through, and we have to get better at that. I think in a lot of ways, some of these apps are not really great for indexability, which is another thing that you brought up. I imagine a Photoshop app where I'm drawing pictures. It's not like it's my private data behind my, on either I'm working locally or on, a drive where I've shared with regular folks. Oh, so I think in a lot of places, there's sort of a distinction between a productivity app where it's probably not accessible to be indexed, and we do have to provide accessibility for all of these apps, and I think we have work to do there. I know we've been exploring things like making DOM a whole lot faster to create, in hopes that those folks who are keeping along around a path that's a fast DOM, so that we can search and do index, but not necessarily show, and accessibility object model is another one. But I totally agree with the premise that we have to get better at that as well. And I do think there will, as we continue to have apps that want to bring powerful experiences to the web, we will have more of these. And when I start talking text shaping, I was doing it all in DOM, that's already built in. It's for these sorts of apps that we need it. So I think we're going to see more of that going over time. And I do think that's an area we need to, especially accessibility and search and page, we need to provide better solutions than we have.
All right, Flecker, you had your raised hand.
Yeah, on the point of composability, I feel like that is an aspect of the web that's not.
Robert, could you repeat? Sorry, volume was down here.
Sorry. On composability, I feel like that's an aspect of the web that's not regularly used or taken advantage of. And some of the things that we do are slightly hostile to composability, like, the third-party cookie things is making it harder to compose components from other sources. Is this still like a thing that we want to support well? And do we need to be thinking about this? How do we still support this idea of drop-in widgets from other sites?
I would say yes, we still want to be composable, and yes, we need to think more. I know there's work being done there's a whole set of things. We recently, I can't think of what it's called. It's like an iframe, but anonymous iframes. We're doing a lot of things that should allow us to be more composable. Sometimes we ship something like a CORS policy or something that comes out, and all of a sudden it breaks a bunch of things, and then we try to figure out how to add them. And I think anonymous iframes is an example of something that we're trying to do to allow folks to be composable and avoid the kind of things that would be a danger to privacy. So I think there's a number of APIs like that are in play, and yeah, we absolutely have to get better at it. I do not want to lose composability of the web because of privacy concerns. I want to have both. Any other? What's that? Oh, Rick raised his hand. Okay.
Hey, Jim, great talk, thanks. If no one else is going to ask it, I'll ask. We've got a bunch of non-Google folks here. I'd just love to hear your thoughts on Chromium and how you see like Google priorities, where there's tension between Google priorities and open source priorities, and how you think about kind of the distinction between Google Chrome and Chromium.
Well, I mean, we're an open source project. If our priorities differ, I hope each team feels motivated to work on their priorities and to land them. And I hope we're able to help assist, get them landed. If not, maybe we're not ourselves working hard to land these things. I think being open source means that we can leverage the power of all of us together to build a better web. And I think we all want a better web, or else we wouldn't be working on this. So I'm committed to keep being open source and to do our best to help folks land what they are hoping to land and to make a better web. I don't know. Does that cover it, Rick?
Yep, that's great. Thank you. Maybe others. I don't know. I know there's a lot of the Gallia folks in the audience. I'm sad I'm not there to chat with them, but I'd encourage you. Now's your chance to ask more detailed questions on that if you want.
Huh? All right.
All right. Thank you, Jim.
All right. Thank you.